Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, guys, this one is going to seem perhaps a little convoluted in ways, but it's all in an effort to try to get people to think outside the box, try to see things that are right in front of our faces, but maybe out of focus, and get a bigger grasp on exactly how this particular universe works.
Yes, this is all about expansion. And I just love sitting here watching Mike put the videos together because it's like I can see the gears going in his brain and I can kind of feel which directions. And I know when certain videos are going to be really good. And this one came from deep within and it's going to be good.
Today was a very kind of a odd day in some ways. A blessed day with interesting interactions for me with, Cindy here and then gone and then here and then gone. This is part of, our reality because she can channel without going into trance. And then there's times when she goes into trance and it's a direct conduit where she's getting direct messages coming through. And then sometimes, like lately, she's been like just slipping in and out, in and out. It's been different than usual. There's things changing to our consciousness, though, that many of you are probably noticing how reality seems a little different lately.
Exactly. Things are changing for a lot of people. And, our perspectives are changing and our understanding is changing and in rapid fashion, too. I'm really grateful that I do have someone I can talk to because these things go really deep and they're very important. What we think, what we feel, these things are very important to us and they should be treated as such.
So a very high density being asked me today during channeling, what is consciousness? Like wanting my definition of consciousness. And basically I said it's that which you can't get behind. If you follow what I mean, maybe we very easily can see that our lives might look like movies or, series, TV shows, what have you, Netflix series. And we're going on these journeys. And so there was 12 archetypes that Carl Jung put out there. And we could categorize ourselves perhaps in 1, 2, 3 of these, maybe even more. And we might say, well, I think most of the time I am a caregiver. I'm here to help others. That's the good part. Flaws, maybe I could have a little bit of a martyr syndrome at times. I'm very compassionate, which sometimes gets me taken, advantage of. Or, you might feel that you're the sage and it's all about acquiring knowledge and wisdom. And, at the same time, people might say, you don't get enough done because your mind is always somewhere else. There's these different kind of archetypes. Archetypes or currents of energy, and there are actual beings that we could refer to as archetypes. And then, we have 12 archetypes. Well, there again, we have the 12 tribes of Israel. If we go biblical, the 12 apostles, we have 12 months in a year, we have the 12 constellations. We could keep going on with these things. Why? It's part of the programming of the matrix that we find ourselves in.
Yes, there's a lot of interesting information when that question is asked. What is consciousness? And it really you have to sit with that for a minute and let that sink in and ask yourself, is there even an answer to that? But we're going to do our best for you.
And then we have Joseph Campbell, another one that is known for his deep forays into mythology and what does it all really mean. And we have, the hero's journey. There's the call to adventure. We could think of Bilbo Baggins or Frodo Baggins, went to Lord of the Rings. Just these meek little hobbits. What are they going to possibly do? Well, they're going to save the entire world. Have you ever felt like you're on the hero's journey?
I think many of us have, felt like a bobber out in the water in a very rocky kind of way, up and down and not really knowing what's going on and having to find your center really fast.
Well, where are we on this? Are we at part number 4, about to be tested, allies and enemies? Or are we over in 8, where we're going deep into an ordeal? Where are we on this hero's journey? And, what are we going to encounter? The other thing to realize that we've been trying to get across in our probably close to 3,000 videos that we've done over the years is that it's not such a simple multiverse that we find ourselves in. And even who are we is definitely not a very simple, easy question.
No, it's not. And we do have these brains that are actually made to be of more of a filter so that we can comprehend things in a certain way.
So, we have our individual lives. We have something called an oversoul. We have a higher self. We're part of a soul family. There's DNA that runs not just in the physical body, but up through the higher densities. And all of it is interrelated. We have all these different beings that we can call on to bring out aspects of ourselves that maybe need to be called into action on our hero's journey that we're on.
Right. And isn't that just a beautiful thing? I mean, when you have this understanding and this knowing that you can call in a certain or call out a certain aspect of yourself, you can get your DNA to rise to a level that's going to assist you in your 3D realm. That's pretty amazing.
It is, most definitely. Again, the dominant line of thinking on this planet is the line of thinking that is given to us by the controllers. And that's the thing to realize. And, when we look at things in simple terms, well, what's our purpose? If you look to one line of thinking, it's to serve God. But when you look to other traditions, well, what is the purpose? Well, the purpose is to explore everything from every different angle, every different possibility. And so in the mystery traditions and in the Sanatana Dharma and the Eastern traditions, of which includes Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Taoism, others, we're basically source. We have source in us. That creator of everything is in all of its creation. Otherwise, it wouldn't be omnipresent. So if it's not omnipresent, then it's not everything. It's not the creator of everything. It's not omniscient. It's not omnipotent. It's not all the above. It has to be this way. When you recognize there's 37 trillion cells in a typical human body, each one of those cells is an individual unit of consciousness, and yet it's part of something bigger. As above, so below. This is how the universe works.
Yes, on so many levels too. And how does one see as above, so below? How do you take these concepts and actually put them into action?
Well, it could perhaps help with perspective. So when we look out there and we see all that we can possibly see, even with the best telescopes we have, and we're exploring the vastness of our known universe and recognize that our entire universe is just a cell. It's one little cell. If there's 37 trillion cells in a human body and we're living in the body of something bigger, how many universes are out there? There's an infinite number of universes. And ultimately, there is an infinite number of creators of these infinite universes. Now, there is one source that is alive in everything and also existing beyond anything that's manifested yet. And it holds the potential of everything within it. And again, that source is basically exploring itself through every single possibility that could ever exist. So think about each cell in our body being a universe unto itself. So just in an individual human, that's 37 trillion universes, so to speak. And thus it gets a little bit mind-blowing.
Exactly. And you got to wonder for a moment, what exactly generates this energy for source? And from our aspect, love. I feel love. Love is the generator of all of this energy. Now, love of what? That can be talked about. But for me, it's love of my fellow human, love of my my pets, love of my home, love of my husband. Just love and appreciation is what gets my body and my cells moving.
Well, love is ultimately the ultimate force, and that's really all we have to hold on to and strive to get back to, because that will take us back to the creator. And the creators that create these different universes, they are benevolent beings. They are in line with source. However, there are beings, as you go down in the densities, that they want to claim everything for themselves. And that's part of what we have going on this planet. And it's not just this planet, it's not just this solar system, it's bigger than that. So when we see, statements like this, and now we're going to come back to this world, now that we had your mind expanding, let's unfortunately listen to statements that will make it contract.
Yes.
Well, I think, as I noted a few minutes ago, we believe we're now at a stage where Russia could at any point launch an attack on Ukraine.
That just snaps some cold water in your expanding consciousness, so to speak. We know what's going on. We could see, and again, I wanted to try to first get a bigger picture of what's going on the planet. When we look to the U.S. Navy news and we see the Fleet and Marine tracker for January 18th, I haven't seen this kind of configuration before. So we do have a lot of ships active, and, we do have tension with the Ukraine and Russia going on, which seems to be getting closer to something that could break out at any time, like Jen Psaki said. And you see the Harry S. Truman's within range of that in the Mediterranean. And then we see five carrier strike groups over there, over in the Western Pacific, within range of China, also Japan, also Taiwan, and also could be perhaps ready to defend Australia and New Zealand as well. So, that's kind of unusual. And, seeing that much firepower over in the Pacific, as we see 112 ships total deployed there. Yeah, that was curious, to say the least. And we see more are going out, as this is Warship Cam. And this is one leaving Pearl Harbor today, the 18th. 18th again, another one leaving. That's San Diego. And this is another one leaving San Diego. There's an awful lot of activity going on. Another one leaving San Diego, another one leaving San Diego. Yeah, another one leaving San Diego, subs leaving. And, truthfully, Cindy knows, I really didn't want to talk about this at all, honestly. I was having a hard time because the energies I'm feeling building are very somber energies that I don't really, feel like talking about anymore, honestly. But we have to, because these are trying times. And yeah, there is insanity ruling this little planet that we find ourselves on that's not really in harmony with the greater scheme of things. And we see Japan claim sovereignty over Russian territory. Minister believes the southern part of the Kuril Islands is rightfully Japanese, and they will not give up their claim. Stating things like that publicly at this time, most definitely that's just blowing, air on a fire.
Right. It's something that's just, Mike really didn't want to do this video. It took a lot, to come here and get this done. But in doing so, we're helping a lot of other people that have their heads somewhere where it could be very confusing and very scary. And we're trying to bring people back to their center, bring people to a place that brings them comfort. And we want you guys to find that love of everything too, because love, when you speak of love, these other entities, they have a love of control and a love of power. So it's just a much lower type of entity, and it's expressed in a different way. Now, what if we had a love of freedom, and we have a love of our pets, our home? What if our love can grow to a point that we are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than those that are controlling right now?
Absolutely. So, the difference between the energy when we do mantras, the energy we feel when we do mantras, and these beings come in and they're with us, that is just so completely full of love and just so benevolent. It's mind-blowing. And the energy that comes in from the other side, when we see it out here in the world, it's exactly the opposite. When you look at our history, it's totally written over. It's constantly being revised. These beings, they want to claim themselves as something that they're not. And one of the things I've seen is some channels that like to uncover ancient aliens and things like that. They're lumping all these beings together, calling them all Anunnaki gods, and they're not. Aset, Isis, has nothing to do with the Anunnaki. Lakshmi, nothing to do with the Anunnaki. Obviously, they're so far from it. And they're lumping all these beings in the same category because they don't have any sort of real perception. They haven't interacted. They haven't felt their energy signature. They don't have activated kundalini. Their pineal glands are not working. And so all they can go on is just what revisionist history we've been given by the controllers, which is purposely twisted, distorted, and it's done to keep us in confusion. And it unfortunately works, especially works very well when people are consuming fluoridated water and all these other things, these GMO foods, getting hit with these signals that confuse us as well. It's all part of the plan. And you see this 200,000-year-old city in southern Africa that might rewrite history. Have you guys heard of Adam's calendar? And Michael Tellinger's done a lot of work on this. And, it dates back probably to about 200,000 years ago. Who put this together? Very, very large, obviously. And, again, was it all just the picture they give us of quote-unquote cavemen is not accurate at all. Again, our brains have been getting smaller. We've been getting downgrades, not upgrades. Everything is totally revisionist. And so this is over here, as you see the area just to the west of Kruger Park. And interestingly enough, to corroborate these stories of, Anunnaki and gold mines, there are mines back there that date back to that same period, like 200,000 years ago or more. Mines. Now, we get the picture that, humans at that time were just running around with sharpened sticks trying to, stick a gazelle or something. What were they doing working a gold mine?
I know. I mean, how did they do that? How did they use these things? Did they just carry the rocks, in their hands and walking with their bare feet? No, of course not. There's technologies that we're just flat not told about.
Yeah, exactly. There's like as many as 100,000 or more stones used in this. And, it's not the only place that we find unusual artifacts and unusual evidence of more advanced societies than they want us to know. How many times does our population get knocked back down, to a very small number, only to grow again, only to get knocked back down again? And this is Corral Soup Bay. And this is in northwestern Peru. Peru is another fascinating country, as I've mentioned before. These are monuments, structures that are probably 5,000 to 6,000 years old, perhaps even older. And again, we did find pyramid structures all over the globe. There's so many unusual things that we've discovered that just defy, what we've been taught. And I got the links for you guys here. Pumapunku is another really interesting place that has script that looks very, very much like what you find in Sumeria. And then in the legends, they even say, in the mythologies, the Sumerian mythologies, that the gods went somewhere out to the west and set up other civilizations. And again, this is Mesoamerica that we're talking about in Peru and Tiahuanaco. And then, by the way, we find fossilized, mummified, 38 centimeter long finger. Giant fingers, yes. Giants are real. Giants are very real. And, we were actually remote viewing one just recently, and That's a whole nother video that we'll be getting into in the future. And then you have the Nazca lines. They found like another 143 new ones about 2 years back, on top of all the big ones that they have found earlier. Again, you can't understand what these things are unless you're up in the air looking down. They date from 500 BC to 400 AD. And, these shapes, little figures, again, you can only tell what they are from above. So they're made to catch the eye of somebody that is flying around. Hello.
I know. I mean, do they not think that we can't put this together, or what? That I really kind of get baffled when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. How about 2.8 billion would-be-year-old spheres that were found also in South Africa, where they manufactured there, where they manufactured off-world. But anyway, you look at it, 2.8 billion, how long have people been here? People, not necessarily humans. Obviously not Homo sapiens. At 2.8 billion years old, is it just simply, that they dated things wrong, or is our history completely revised? Well, it's completely revised. And they don't want you to know just how expansive or how ancient the Indus Valley civilization, as we keep finding out that it's much older than thought, much larger than thought. They always want to make it appear that the Sumerian civilization is the older one. Why? Well, because that's where the power structure upon the planet comes from. And again, we're talking the real power structure. The secret societies, the politicians that take their orders from the secret societies. The secret societies take their order from the beings known as the Ijiji, and who take their orders from the Anunnaki, who also are under the power of the Draco and the AI Borg that is hoping to have a lot of people to harvest at some point in time from planet Earth.
Right. There's just a lot of things that we want to keep helping people awaken to, things that, we want to talk to you about your freedom and claiming your own sovereignty and claiming your own being, and not to walk into these traps of situations where you're giving up your freedoms.
Absolutely. When we look to the Vimanas, the flying vehicles that are described in the Sanskrit texts, and all the different beings that are talked of, the war between the Asuras and the Devas being the good guys, the Asuras being those that we might call demonic. In reality, what this is reflective of man's descent from basically being up in a fifth density when we're in the golden age, and then starting to go down in density. Again, this is all related to the energies that we are exposed to in different areas of our universe as we transverse, as our solar system transverses and goes through different areas. It's been going through an area that is, let's just say, low vibrational because of atrocities that were committed over there, the deaths of civilizations, and it causes us to drop in vibrational frequency. The entire planet drops in frequency. And we drop from that fifth density into the Kali Yuga third density. But in the middle, we're in fourth density. And when we're in the lower fourth density, guess who we can actually see? It's our neighbors, the Anunnaki. And Nibiru. Nibiru actually becomes something that would be visible to the naked eye. We do get that Nibiru is in our solar system, but it's out closer, more like around the lines of where Uranus and Pluto are. So it can't really get too much closer because it will cause a lot of issues gravitationally, especially since we are now moving back up. Well, why don't they move up? Well, they can't move up because they're stuck. They're at a place where they're no longer spiritually evolving. They're evolving technologically along the AI program.
Right. It goes back to their love of power, their love of control. That's where they allow themselves to stay. And we have love of expansion. We have love of life. We have love of those around us. And that's what allows us to go beyond.
Absolutely, and these are beings we would call giants. They are humanoid looking. They do have reptilian tendencies, absolutely, because again, the overshadowing of the draconian energies. But they are large, 12 to 16 feet tall seems to be the range that they're in. And it's interesting too, like, we've seen censorship on YT when it comes to talking about certain things in giants. They don't want you to know. Whenever you say that A word, you always get this, little Wikipedia. Hey, the Anunnaki are a group of deities. Yeah, and we're exposed to them on the descent and on the ascent. So now we're ascending, and so now we're getting close to that time period where they will become flesh and blood physical to us, where before they were slightly out of our range. Again, it's just like tuning in an old-fashioned radio knob to a different frequency. So the benevolent beings in 5D that teach us how the universe works and have given us so many of the esoteric, the occult teachings. Why are they occult? Well, because the lower beings that control us now don't want you knowing these things. These are the secrets of the universe that they want to hoard for themselves. They just want you to be a slave, that's all, and a battery, just like the Matrix. For so many ways, we are kind of an energy source, so to speak. Each one of us has source energy in us. That source energy is very, very valuable. And they look to cultivate that source energy. They just want you to give it to them of your own free accord. And therein lies the big issue.
Yeah, and it is a big issue.
Absolutely. So, we see the wars between the good guys and the bad guys, so to speak, between, again, Devas and Asuras. They talk about all this. They talk about laser weapons. They talk about things that look like nuclear weapons, all sorts of thunderbolts, 1.7 billion people dying in a single battle. It's incredible. It's really incredible. From the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, beings like Krishna and Rama. And, it's fascinating to delve into history, because there actually was a empire of Rama. Mm-hmm. This is a known fact. And you can see, just a little line here. No other civilization in the world has captivated so much the imagination that the civilization of the Indus Valley, in which some authors have seen the mythical empire of Rama. Civilization of the Indus Valley has its roots at least 8,000, probably far deeper than that. And we see in some of these cities the fact that, there's a totally different way of governance. There's no kings, there's no queens, there's no central authority. Oh my God, they were anarchists, but they got along, and they didn't even mass produce weaponry until the Anunnaki came. And, you see here the Rama Empire from 10,000 BC to about 2,500 BC. Pretty interesting stuff to look into. It's fascinating. Again, there's so much that is covered up. So, who was Rama? Who is Rama? Well, again, think in terms of archetypes and think in terms of channeling energy. So, what was Christ's purpose? Some will say blood sacrifice. Well, that's the Anunnaki way of thinking. And that's the mainstream model, which has been twisted and distorted. But really, it was about Christ consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? It's understanding heart-centered living, compassion-based living, that opens up the heart chakra so we can move up through fourth density and into fifth density as we progress back up the ascending ladder.
Right, and change these perceptions and change these understanding from that of something that is small and meek to that is expanded and big and large and all encompassing.
So when we talk about Krishna consciousness, Krishna supposedly left the world physically about 3102 BC. And then right after that, the Kali Yuga starts. And why did he really leave this world? What do they really mean when they mean that? And again, Krishna is all about joy, happiness, about enjoying third density living. when you look at him, he was a little bit of a trickster, a prankster. He enjoyed all the good things in life, and yet there was a character there. He would, again, stand up for those that needed somebody strong behind them. When you think about it, well, what does the Kali Yuga mean? Well, again, third density living gets hard. And if we look to the Anunnaki legends, they view humans as slaves to serve them, to serve their master. And I shared with you guys that when I was about 20, after deep study in the Bible, it all of a sudden hit me. It was just this realization that, oh my God, the day of the Lord is the return of the Anunnaki and the return of mankind's slave status fully. And when that hit me, it was like, oh, wow. It was just like, holy crap. It's like an alien invasion film, basically.
Right, and it's like people are giving away their sovereignty willingly, but it's being tricked. But still, it's free will.
Yeah, because you're asking for it. You're saying, not my will, but thy will. But you're not really knowing that when you're saying thy, you're not talking to source. You're not talking to even the creator of this universe. Because again, the creator of this universe is a separate identity from source. Because there is one source, but there's actually an infinite number of universes, each with their own creators. But you're not really even talking about the creator of this universe. You're really talking about the usurpers that come here during these ages, pretending to be source, pretending to be the creator of the universe, and getting people willing, totally, to just be slaves for them.
Right, and they're very flashy. They have very good technology, so a lot of things that they could do, we would marvel at because we've never seen it.
So who really is Rama? Who was Rama? How about the historical Rama? Again, what we got was what they had told us before, that again, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, these are stories, are allegories to teach us universal truths. Again, we're learning about archetypes, but these archetypes are real at the same time. So that's the part that's pretty wild to know, that we're talking about real beings, but yet they're forces, they're archetypal forces. When you talk about the archangels, for instance, these are very, very powerful natural forces, and yet they are distinct personalities.
Right, it's like they have a way of imprinting their energies on you to then show their personality.
And angels, archangels, well, angels, basically, we can become what we would call an angel, because that's just being in service to others. So that's choosing to maybe not come down here into 3D, 4D, to stay up on the higher densities, 5D, 6D, and 7D, and just basically serve others, help others, coaches, guides, and doing other things, such as actually checking how your energy body's doing, things like that. Actually working on you energetically as well, giving you spiritual reassurance and guiding you too in times of need. Again, listen to that little voice within. Should I take that right or should I take that left? Oh, I think I should go a different way today. I wonder why. Well, you know what? I'm going to try the different way. And then you find out there was an axe in it or something. So again, Rama is very, very interesting because traditionally he's thought to be an avatar of Vishnu. And Vishnu is traditionally, unless you're a Vaishnavite, thought to be the preserver, Brahma the creator, Shiva the destroyer. A lot of things are misconceived, and what we've gotten from the guides, even deep into the different aspects of different traditions of Hinduism, for instance, there's nobody on this planet that has it exactly right. There's little details and nuances that are missed, and it's at this point in time, again, we're still in 3D. We have one foot about to land in 4D. And things will become clearer as we get up again closer. And when we're in the golden age, then all these things, this is just kindergarten stuff. This is just basic.
Right. All of these things are going to fall away and we'll see life a whole different manner. Everything will be changed. Our perceptions will be probably unrecognizable, but there is something to growth. We all have to walk the path of growth.
And so when we're looking at these beings, and again, beings can have great beings can have incarnations. Archangels can have incarnations. It wouldn't be all the energy of the archangel. You couldn't house that in a human body. But you could house a small sliver of that. Just think of it in terms of, they can extract a little vial of blood from your arm and use that to create something with. Well, it's the same thing with basically taking a little piece of a soul, of an essence of, say, an archangel, or even a being like, one of these deities, and creating a new soul. You lose that little bit of blood, but same thing when the sperm and the egg come together, it's a little bit of you, and it creates something brand new that stays a new consciousness. Again, as above, so below. So I decided, I was like, Cindy, do you think you could get a hold of Rama? We've never channeled Rama. And she felt that she could, so we did. And so we'll share this with you, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you.
I am one you call Rama. I am a bringer of peace. My creation was made to bring peace amongst all entities. My creation is to bring understanding amongst all entities, those that are in your earth, those that are on your earth, and those that are above your earth. My energy is to bring peace and understanding and love to this environment, and to allow any one energy who wishes to participate in creating peace amongst others. I am allowing, assisting in this endeavor. At this time, the energies above your earth, below your earth, and on your earth are not energies that can be corrected to utilize one another during this time, as these energies are incompatible at a vibratory standpoint. Your missions here on this planet are very important to bringing understanding to all species, so that all species might view one another as equal and loving, and creating the harmony that is automatic in other densities. I am one who will work through anyone who wishes to create peace. There are many understandings that need to take place on your planet and movement from one vibratory standpoint to another is also required. The understanding that all is from one source is not capable of being united on your planet at this time, but there are such entities who can create this reality in their own smaller world, in their own kingdom.
It is said that you were able to go inside the earth and above the earth when you were here in the physical form. Perhaps my understanding is not completely detailed as of yet, but I am feeling that when you were here, we were basically in what you would call fourth density. Is this correct?
I am not an entity that you understand to be in the form of 3D. My creation was made to allow my energy to be channeled to those beneath the surface of your earth and on the surface of your earth and above the surface of your earth. These energies simultaneously are utilized by entities. I am an idea. I am a construct. I am the understanding of peace that can be channeled through entities who are willing to create spaces for understanding and allowing for different ideas of existence to be in alignment with one another, to personify my energy for you. You can understand me to be a large entity or a giant. However, I am not in the same 3D form as you understand me. My energies are able to extend out into other beings, whether it be human or non-human. My energy is expansive in this way. It creates its own embodiment of understanding.
So when we look to the Ramayana, the great epic and classic from the Indus Valley tradition and area, are we just looking at stories that typify your personage when manifested in humans?
Indeed, these are many stories that are to bring understanding to those who seek it. These stories are created to trigger certain DNA lineages, to bring an understanding of peace to a much broader energies, to assist in awakening the DNA that is on the higher realms, your DNA in this 3D construct is awakening to that of a higher knowledge and understanding. These teachings are used to accelerate these higher understandings so that one may create their own story of peace and harmony amongst themselves and those who are under their influence.
Are you an aspect then of Lord Vishnu, or a distinct, separate energy, consciousness?
I am considered an aspect of the great Vishnu. I am of his DNA lineage. I am an expansion from his DNA to create one of his dreams, one of his stories. As he is the creator, he has many dreams and stories that he is expressing through multiple entities. I am that of his expansion to his world.
So Krishna would be as another dream, another expansion of his?
Indeed, Krishna, this energy, this understanding is a idea and a thought form to awaken the DNA to those who wish to have this peace that Vishnu has created for himself. This peace and harmony comes through these strands of DNA. This is what is meant by oneness. You all are expressions of one much larger entity. The DNA that you hold speaks to one another in higher realms. This is dependent upon your ability to understand and comprehend different energies. This is dependent on different aspects of the human life. I should step away from this channel at this time.
Thank you so much for sharing. I hope that we will be able to speak again.
Indeed we will. Namaste.
Namaste.
As
And so that was Rama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was a very powerful energy. That I'm still dizzy from that one. It's like after we're finishing up, I got this big rush of dizziness. So he has a very powerful energy. We'll be able to channel more of his essence and understandings at a later time. As I get stronger, I'm more able to do this.
And we had channeled Vishnu's before. It has come through in a personal nature with a personal message that we didn't share outright, but his energy was expansive.
You know, I gotta tell you, that energy was so healing, and that's why we didn't share it. It's because I was crying. And I just, I don't know, it's something that's really difficult to explain, but as the energy moves through you, it's like his energy was moving blocks out of my heart, and I couldn't contain my emotions. I just couldn't. And, after that happened, 2 weeks later, lo and behold, I am honestly starting to do better, and I was in pretty bad shape.
Yeah,
So,
Cindy's been, in case you don't know, I mean, she's been fighting things for about 9 months now. We had shared with you guys that we did get blasted a couple of times by negative energies that definitely hit us, knocked us for a loop a little bit. My energy work, I've been able to recoup quicker, but it's taken a lot of work on Cindy, and Vishnu's energy seemed to be the thing that turned the corner, because since that interaction, she's gotten much stronger, and she's regaining all of her past strength and starting to develop even better.
yes, I mean, I would love to channel an energy like that just for you guys, because I believe it's not just healing for me. I believe it's healing for everyone.
Absolutely. So we wanted to share this with you guys because, these beings are truly benevolent, and you can't hide energies. You cannot hide energies. And so many people are in the process of having awakened Kundalini. There are so many people that they're finding their pineal glands are turning on. They can now perhaps see the life force. They can perhaps tell that there's other beings around them at different times.
And, I just wanted to clarify, like when I'm crying, that's because of the love that was being channeled through me. The love, the understanding, the acceptance, all of those things that it takes to actually heal, all of those things it takes to process certain energies can be very, very emotional. And we're all going through that time right now where we really need to take a good look at ourselves. We have a lot that we weren't able to process because we were too busy working, because we were too traumatized, because we didn't have time. Now's the time. It's so important to really talk to yourself and work through these emotions, work through these traumas.
And so, these beings, again, if you ask for help from them, they will help you. It's just that simple. And they're lying, in the case of the Devas, mostly in 6th and 7th density. So they are on the higher densities, and it's harder for them to reach us when we're down in 3D in the lower Kali Yuga. But now that we're rising up, it's going to get easier and easier to stay in touch with them. Again, it all depends on what your personal choices are, because again, the slave masters are trying to get you to make the choices that keep you in their system, and they're going to do things that are going to help to assimilate you into their Borg. So use your discernment. There are those, I'm sure, that are going to think that these benevolent beings, because they don't fit what they were taught, they're going to view them in a negative light. But again, you got to feel it for yourself. And so these beings can do amazing things. And I have never felt so much peace, love, and pure joy as when doing mantras and kirtans. It's just, there's no comparison with anything I ever got going to any other sort of service, honestly. And so this resonates with my soul totally. And it's, again, really past life. It's because that's who I am. It's just part of my makeup. And I recognize that, and the peace I feel, the nurturing, the caring, the love, it's just so overwhelming at times. I can't tell you how many times I break out crying during mantras or during meditation, just because I could feel them, and they're sending their love and their energy back, and it's really helping me heal, things in my heart and past traumas, because we've been through so many of these, and we've so many of us have fought the system so many times, and perhaps even lost our lives many times to the system, fighting the system and trying to awaken others. And here we are. We're at a huge, huge turning point. We're coming up upon events that are going to be the public would view them as insane. We're as we know, we're living these movies. And all you got to do is look to the movies that are out there. Go open up Netflix or just take a peek, even if you don't have Netflix. See the names of some of the titles, and you have an idea what they have in store for us in the future because they telegraph everything.
They sure do. And that's just the way it is right now. So we really hope you guys got some good information, some good nuggets out of this, a little bit of healing, a little bit of learning.
And so this is a mantra you could use if you want to call on Ram or Rama. You could call them either way. If you want to call on that energy. And again, it's an archetype in the sense that it's so high up along the totem pole going towards source that it's a very pure, strong energy. And if we look to the traditional Hindu viewpoint on who is Rama, you would definitely say he's strength, he's solidity, he's always fighting for right, he's always trying to fight against evil anywhere that it is, and always trying to help spread light. He's pure righteousness in the best sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could do it this way. This is Shri Ram, Jaya Ram, which Shri, that first part, it's actually a designation of the goddess energy. So it's basically Lakshmi, or goddess energy, we could say. It's Shakti energy. And then Ram is his name. Jaya just means victory. And so you could do Shri Ram, Jaya Ram. And that would be a mantra that would definitely call him in. Krishna Das does it Shri Ram, Jai Ram. It doesn't matter. It's different in different parts. Again, just like we have different, a little bit different lingo if you're up in Boston and say you're down in Savannah. It's going to sound a little bit different. But either will work. It'll connect you to his energy. So we wanted to share that with you guys. And I got another link that I'll attach that'll give you some other mantras for Ram.
Absolutely. So we really hope that these guys help, or these information helps.
And I felt that it was good to put Rama along with the news of the impending war that they're trying to start. Because again, if you want peace in your life, call the Ram or Rama, and he'll help to bring you that peace. And the world needs this peace.
Yes, and our belief systems are so important right now. So we need to expand that emotion of peace all around us.
Absolutely. And, we have gotten from the guides that, just what we're doing out in the world has brought so many people calling on them. And just to share you guys a little aside, one particular angel, I don't think we've seen him. I don't know if we ever saw him since we were in this part of the country. I think the last time we saw him was in New Mexico. Yeah, he used to come to us in New Mexico all the time and work on us. And he came by today, and it's a blessing to have Cindy here because she's such a direct conversationalist. She's like an international linguist when it comes to different densities. And so he was just saying that he's been exceedingly busy with all the people that were getting to ask for their guides and their angels for help. So you could just do it if you don't feel comfortable going to Ram or Krishna or Isis Aset or Mother Mary or anything. You could just simply just ask for help from your guides, ask for help from your angels, and that will help. They will work with you.
I know it might sound a little bit silly, but when we're not asking our guides and angels for help, they're sidelined. They can't do anything.
Yeah, you got to ask in order to receive, because they will not interfere with your human experience. So again, it's up to you to put out that effort. And there's a lot of days where I'll do 3 mantra sessions in a day. I might, some days, it just might feel the call and might be doing mantras for hours, really, when you put it together.
Absolutely.
But it just changes the consciousness, and it brings you these energies that are so high vibe. Thank you for your support on Patreon, also on Ko-Fi. Do check out Medicinal Foods. Lots of good stuff for body, mind, and soul. Does support the channel. Use coupon code EEA and also get a discount. And do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com. If you need to make an appointment, you can reach out to us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com gmail.com, or EEARTS@protonmail.com. And we're backed up about 2 weeks right now, just to let you know. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.